Hey, Ted here again from the Marine Tech program here at New England Tech. I'm going to go over EVC-C again, some settings which are going to be in the settings tab. It's going to be how to set the trim angles. So in EVC-C, if you have a stern drive engine like this control, all right, and you have a trim switch here, you can set trim angles if you have that software. Now that software was an option years ago. You still can buy it. It's called Power Trim Assist. Not something you want to do if you don't have any issues with the way the boat auto planes off. Don't go in here and mess with it if you're not the owner of the boat or you're not with the owner of the boat. It's not a good idea because it may change the way the boat handles. So I'll show you where that is. So what you're going to do is turn the key on. Make sure you're in neutral. Doesn't really matter, but make sure it's in neutral. Wait for the panel to boot up. Push your active station button. We need to go into what is called Oem mode or service mode. To do that, push and hold the minus symbol or the multifunction button. Hold that in about 6 seconds. Now at that point it'll say Oem mode is activated. So once Oem mode is activated, what I can do is I can then scroll back until it says settings. Now be careful here. Don't go crazy because you get yourself in trouble and you're going to change things that you don't want to do. But I want to make it so you can change those trim angles in case the boat is not set up properly. So if I hit the enter knob, that's the finger arrow. It's going to allow me to go into the Oem mode settings. Now I can scroll to the right and it says Pta. Pta is Power Trim Assist. If that software is installed in your product, then you will see this. If it is not installed, you will not see it. If I hit the enter knob, again, push the enter knob in, it will ask me, do I want to turn it on? And if I scroll to the right with the scroll knob, it'll say I want it off. I want to turn it on. So once I turn it on, push the enter knob again. That backs you back out of that setting. Now if I scroll to the right, settings, Pta Calibration. Now what I can do is I can set my calibration points. Okay? So hit the enter knob and it's going to say Pta position 1. Hit the enter knob again. It's repetitive. You're going to need to do this. What position do you want that drive to be an idle? And I want it at 0 degrees. I want it parallel to the ground. So that's where I like to start. So when you're in neutral, the drive's in, is parallel. It's not tucked in, it's not raised up. Hit the enter knob again. It will then say Pta position 2. Hit the enter knob again. Now it says what speed do you want to be in position 2, which means we're going to be accelerating. All right, we're going to start increasing throttle off idle. All of the settings are done in neutral and the engine's not running. So what I'm going to do is roll my scroll knob to show you that I can change the RPM. And I keep going to the right and I can go all the way up to wide open throttle, wherever I want it. Okay, it'll let me go all the way to 6,000 RPM, even though the engine wouldn't go 6,000. So I'm going to scroll back down to 900, which is the lowest point. Now the reason 900 is because that means you're accelerating and it wants to tuck the drive in. So let's say that 800 is the lowest. So at 900 RPM, as you start to accelerate, you're in gear, you want the drive to trim in. And right now it's set at 3 degrees negative. That means from parallel, it's going to tuck the drive in so that you are going to have the bow start to come down so you can get the boat on plane. So that's fine. I'd say 900. Let's put it at 1,000. Push the enter knob again. I can now set that trim angle where I want it. So what I want to do is I went from 0 and I'm going to go to -2 degrees. So that means it's going to go negative. It's going to start to push the bow down because I want to get the boat on plane. Hit your enter knob, goes to calibration 3. There's 5 settings. I can change the calibration point at any point I want. I can go back and forth to any of them if I want, but I'm going to stay in position 3. Hit the enter knob. Now it gives you the minimum of 1200 RPM. So now you're accelerating further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this at 1500 RPM. And every boat's different. Hit your enter knob. And now the maximum trim in angle that you have to help get the boat on plane is -5. So I'm going to leave it there. Hit the enter knob again. You go to position 4. Hit the enter knob again. And it says now the boat is coming up on plane. So what I'm going to say now is the boat planes off at, let's say, 2200 RPM. It starts to plane off. So now what I'm going to do, hit the enter knob again, and I want to bring that drive up to -2 degrees, let's say. Or let's put it at 0. Why not? We'll put it at 0. Go to position 5, and that's your last setting, and now your RPM, and now you're up on plane, and let's say you're up around 3200 RPM, and you want to trim the drive up to 4 degrees, let's say, is where the best trim angle is. So this is how you really set it. It's not real hard. When you're done, and you're in that position 5, and you've set that angle, and you've set that, push the enter knob again, and it backs you out of that calibration. It has set those points at that given point. Okay? So that's how you set PTA calibration. Then simply shut the key off, do your 10-second wait, and your calibrations are stored in the memory. You can go back and change them at any point if you want. Another thing that you can do is to set PTA on and off. So I'm going to turn the key on. Let's say it's I get a following C, and I don't want PTA on. I want that to just basically leave me alone, and I want to control the trim angles myself. So I'm going to activate the station, and I hit the back arrow button. It will put me into settings. If I hit the enter knob now, it will give me the PTA.